Okay, good. Excellent. We just had a really good conversation between the both of us for about 2 minutes.
But here we are. We're back together.
Here we are. We're really excited that you're all here joining us for our very first Coffee Connection Live. And as you can probably tell from us talking to each other for 2 minutes and not hearing us, this is our first one. So just be patient with us. Have fun with it, and we're just super excited that you're here to join us today. Some housekeeping tips. Please make sure your speakers are on, and we'll make sure our microphone is on.
We will do that from henceforth.
And you can see us, and the camera's on. We'll probably be here for about an hour or so, just depending on the group discussion. And we really want to make sure that you're using the chat box to talk to each other. We have our producer Danielle Haro on in the chat box. She's our producer, and she's going to be able to answer any questions that you have throughout the call. And we will go to our question and answer box, the Q&A box at the very end to answer some questions, and we can even go into some live discussion and have you guys chime in. And then the raise hand feature that's there. That feature will be asking you guys some questions throughout the call where you can just raise your hand if you agree or if you want to join in on the conversation.
Raise your hand if you're happy it's Friday.
Yay! Yes, raise hand feature.
Very much happy.
Yes. So we're super excited. And let's go ahead and get started. So I'm Nicole Vogel, Senior Program Manager with the USO. I've been with the USO for 9 years. I am also an Air Force spouse of 9 years. So really excited to be a part of this today with all of you. And I just want to hand it off to Dustin.
Sure. I'm Dustin Thomas, also a Senior Programs Manager at the USO. I have been at the USO for almost 6 years now. Can you believe that? But I am actually a veteran military kid.
Yay.
My dad was in the Navy for 23 years. So I know the flip side of the fence for us spouses. So near and dear, happy to be here.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us. And thanks to our friend Danielle, who is also in the chat box. And just so you guys know, you are all on mute. So we can't hear anything that you're saying on your end. So I'm going to actually stop the share and we're going to go straight to just us now.
Yeah.
So here we are. Yes. Again, use the chat box. Let us know how you're doing today, where you're located, and let's actually start off with a
poll.
Get to know you poll.
I like it.
We want to know who's in the call with us today. Okay. So I'm going to launch our very first poll, and we want to launch this so we know where you guys are. So you can join in and let us know where you're joining us from. Also, where are you located in the world? And if you're a military spouse, how long have you been a military spouse? There's also a question of what branch of the military are you associated with?
Army is representing. I see them coming in.
We see some coming in, and we'll make sure to share.
Marines. Oh, wow.
Share these results with you afterwards. I see.
Love it.
We've got a little bit of everybody on here. This is great.
Look at that. We've got almost the full military spouse journey captured there between very beginning all the way towards the end.
We have our friend in Korea on the call.
Wow, what time is it in Korea right now?
I know. What time is it in Korea right now?
They're about, I don't even want to say.
I don't even know. 6?
They're ahead of us.
Yeah.
Like quite a few hours.
Yes. So thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Maybe? Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So it seems like about.
And where are they joining from? Home?
Oh, it's midnight.
Work. Oh,
midnight in Korea.
Midnight. So those that are joining from work, appreciate you.
Yep. Okay. Looks like we have 62% in, 18%, or 18 votes in. We'll give it another
30 seconds.
Yeah, another 30 seconds to see. Okay.
All right.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and end the polling, and then I'll go ahead and share this with you.
Thanks, everyone. It's kind of nice to know where everybody's calling from. And
so you can kind of see now that we have some people from home, from work. We've got Southwest, Southeast is representing well.
Wow.
Korea's here, and spouses from all over, from
all walks of life.
Yeah, yep. And then Army representing on the call.
Army's winning out today.
Yes. All right.
Perfect.
Great. Okay.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about what we're here for today.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about some fun stuff.
Yeah, the backbone of our military. So we shared the link where you can go ahead and download the research. It's uso.org/military Mill Spouse Salute. I'm sorry, Mill Spouse Salute. But wanted to talk to you about why we conducted this research.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So last year, early January, around kind of this time, we knew we wanted to do an event for military spouses, and we knew we wanted to make it something big where military spouses could know what the USO is doing for them. So we came up with an event called the Salute to Military Spouses. So it was an event that we hosted actually in November in Washington, D.C. And we thought, this is a great way to bring spouses together, but we need to have a little bit more to this day. We need something else. A little substance.
As we like to call it.
Maybe a little bit of qualitative research.
Look at you. Throwing that around.
Right. Yes.
Willy-nilly.
Yes. So what we did is we teamed up with Marvin Strategies, and we went on a research tour. So tell us more about that.
Absolutely. So I had the wonderful privilege of getting to work directly with Chris Marvin to do a research tour. And we knew pretty early on that when we wanted to dig in and find out more about the military spouse experience, that we wanted that to be really deep information, right? So we made the strategic initiative to go ahead and do what we call a qualitative research effort versus quantitative. So what does that really mean?
Right.
We basically decided, rather than spend an entire year speaking to thousands and thousands of spouses, could we not focus maybe 3 months of our time and talk to spouses like this, one-to-one? Tell me what you're feeling. How's your experience? What's challenging you? All these different things to really get a good, robust understanding of what does it actually look like, right? Because we've all kind of read different reports, whether it's about dogs or kids or whatever.
Sure.
They can get a little dry after a while if you're generalizing it so far. We really wanted to get unique perspectives and understand what it actually looks like today.
Love it.
So I'll give you a little touch point on how we did it, if that's okay.
To give us.
So essentially we decided to take 3 months and go out and talk to spouses, and we didn't necessarily cap it at a number. We just wanted to do as many as we felt holistically made sense within the 3 months. So we chose to go to 4 different specific areas. We did the western side of the United States, and we went overseas to Japan. We talked to spouses in Texas, specifically to get them into one-on-one conversations or group conversations. We did a couple, 4 to 6 people or so, focus group type setting to ask them all very similar things. And this is all based on the concept of human-centered design, which if you're a research junkie, that's my domain, right? So essentially what that means is you talk to the person you're trying to solve a problem for, right? So like if a car company is trying to solve a specific problem with a car, they talk to the people who use their cars. Kind of makes sense, right? And then rather than trying to come up with 500 different ways to solve the problem, you solve the problem for them that works for them.
Yeah, I like that.
Makes sense, right? Does make sense. So what did that mean for us? We essentially decided that we wanted to understand what were the different journey points for military spouses, because anybody who's been in this life knows that nobody has the same experience as the person next to them, regardless of whether on paper it looks the same, right? It's never the same. We wanted to understand what exactly is this kind of, I'm gonna use a big word, monolithic view.
Whoa,
of military spouse.
It's too early.
Right, way too early. More coffee, please.
Right.
But basically we wanted to kind of like break down the stereotypes, right? Because in the civilian world and even in the military world, there's this kind of stereotype of what the military spouse looks like. And we didn't want to portray that any longer. We wanted to portray spouses as they actually are.
Today's modern military spouse.
Exactly. And then lastly, we wanted to understand what were the, kind of perceptions of their experience as it kind of relates to the USO, right? So understanding how we can serve them better, what we need to do to be better, to serve them better, and things of that nature.
Great.
But that was kind of like our high level goals.
Yeah.
It took 3 months. We talked to, over 50 or so spouses in those 3 months, and we got back some really good details.
Yeah.
Which was
and
awesome.
then what came of that?
Yeah. This beautiful document here. 8 months of staring at. It's gorgeous, right? If you download it from the web, you can get the same exact one. It's just in PDF fashion. And there's all sorts of really good nuggets in there. We're going to talk a little bit more about a couple of them, but I highly welcome. And in fact, my mom, like I mentioned, was a military spouse for 23 years.
Oh, wow.
I just saw her this week. I went home for a little bit and I literally put one in her hands. And now that she's been out of the military as a spouse for, about 20 years, she said everything in there still represented a lot of her experience from 20 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy.
So, I mean, proof in the pudding that, a lot of experiences haven't necessarily changed that much.
Yeah.
So.
Wow. Okay.
Really cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And so you talked about, you went out, you talked to the spouses,
Yeah.
and then they compiled all the research.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
a lot of information to digest.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Because that kicked off early spring.
Yep, early spring, and then we worked straight through. Gosh, when was our event? In September?
And the event was November.
Goodness gracious,
Yeah.
November. So we worked straight up until about 2 months before, so
Yeah.
right into the fall, and compiling all that information. We came up with kind of what we use as like the 3 nugget areas.
Okay.
Did you want to go into?
Yeah,
one of them?
I actually what came out of it.
Oh,
What'd you find?
absolutely. Yeah. So
Right. Raise your hand if you want to know what we found.
you want to know what we found. So we found some really good stuff, right? And then we also found some stuff that was kind of like, well, no duh, right? So it's like, for those of us who are in this space all the time, some of it is kind of like, why do we even have to write this on paper? It seems kind of ridiculous to do it. But at the same time, there are pieces in there that were like, they need to be written down so that we can go forth and tell everybody this is still a challenge. So what we kind of envision as the challenge areas, we call the 10 insights that we found. That's not to say that those were the only insights that we found, but these were kind of like the 10 things that repeatedly kept coming up. That regardless of where spouses are in their experience, or how long they've been in, or how many times they've been in, or regardless, they had these challenges. And so we wanted to make sure that we put focus on those. So rather than kind of going through all of them, because it's a pretty long list when you dig in.
Yeah, and it's in the research once you...
It's in, you can dig in, but there are 4 that I think are really fantastic, especially because I want to talk about them. Right. And the first one is trusted relationships are valued, but often elusive. What does that actually mean, right? So like, everybody has a difficult time making friends, right? Yes. It comes to all of us, which is why we're here. Not Nicole and I. We're
we're friends. but we always
general,
could use another buddy.
Right. But like really finding those people in your life that can help you no matter what. The people you trust to be there with you all the time, right? It takes time to develop those kind of friendships and relationships. But if you're moving every 2 years, then you're kind of pulled away from that. Conversely, we also found within that is that while social media is very prevalent and the online space is very prevalent, the trust factor with the people that you form relationships there is very different than what you form face to face. Right. Yeah. So a little bit of like a no duh moment, but also a little bit of a light bulb moment. Right.
I mean, the relationship thing, I laugh because my friends and I, we've joked about how we go to the commissary when you move to a new location and you kind of have to stalk out your new friends maybe at the commissary because, you know, maybe you'll be my friend. You like apples? I like apples.
I like apples too.
Let's be friends.
Let's be friends. So, exactly. So that was very prevalent for us, is that, you know, trusted relationships are hugely valuable to everyday life, but they can be often very elusive. Yeah. Meaning to make them up, to maintain them, to get new friends when you lose them, because they move, all these different pieces.
Great.
Okay. That's the first one.
I like that one.
The second one, networks can be very difficult to maintain. Kind of goes hand in hand with that, right? Yeah. So like, if you don't have the time because you got 3 kiddos at home, you're trying to manage a new school situation, a new daycare, making an actual network for yourself can be very difficult, whether that's personal or professional. Right. And I mean, we do this essentially every day and it's still difficult for us. So I can't imagine having all these other variables at play. So being able to reiterate the fact that we need to provide spouses the opportunity to maintain and keep and continue to grow those trusted networks for them is hugely important.
Well, and that's why we started the Coffee Connections at our USO centers, is for the spouses to come together and just connect and share advice and make friends. Right. But then we heard, you know, from our location, from different spouses that weren't near a USO center, couldn't bring their kids with them, or just didn't have the time to come to one of our events, that they wanted something like this. So here we are. Yeah. Good. Ta-da.
We did. We made time today, Nicole.
We did. I know. And we get to bond. So thank you for
absolutely.
This. Yes.
And then another third one that I think is hugely valuable to kind of keep in the frame set is planning for life is nearly impossible.
Yeah. Yes.
Is that like a mic drop or what? Like,
yeah. I mean,
seriously.
don't touch this.
Yeah, no, I won't touch it. This is beautiful. I don't want to mess it up. But in general, like it's hard enough to plan for life, but when everything around you is planned for you, that makes it literally impossible. I mean, how many spouses do you know? I know that have like plans A, B, C, D, Z, like literally all the way into the double letters.
Well, then you make your plan and then you find out 2 hours later. No, just kidding.
And it's a lesson in
nice.
It's a lesson in hurry up and wait, right? I mean, like we all know this. But why is that hugely important? We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But planning for life impossible. It shouldn't be that way.
Right. No.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but I would highly encourage you to dig into all the insights because I think a lot of them for most military spouses will look at them and be like, oh, well, yeah, obviously.
Right.
But to see it written down in paper and actually acknowledged that way is hugely empowering. So take the time to read it if you can.
Because when I did read the report for the first time, it was almost like I almost struggled reading it because I was like, wow, I you know, I've gone through this. I feel this way, but I just never almost realized it.
Absolutely. You know, and I had the pleasure of seeing all of this before it was like beautiful and pretty and whatnot. And I would get little tangential pieces of it and I would sit there and go, oh my gosh, and I would text you and like, you're not going to believe what's coming out in this, because a lot of this is stuff we talk about all the time with regards to how to provide support for.
Right.
So yeah, it bubbled up. It's there.
Yeah. So there's 10 of them. So take a look at them and let us know, even in the chat box. Feel free to.
Or if you want to hear more, we can go through them.
Yeah, we can go through. Yeah. Round two.
Exactly.
Okay. So we have the 10 insights, and then what else came out of that then?
So sure. So we went through and we got these 10 insights, right? Which really are more like challenge points, right?
Okay.
The things that get in the way of you being able to do the best thing you can do for you and your family, right? The challenge points. And we basically took that back to home base at USO and said, how does that actually all fit into a greater theme, right? And so we wanted to kind of take the opportunity to take all 10 of these and kind of put them into 3 kind of bucketized areas of themes. Very ingenious.
Sounds very research-like.
Very research-like. But essentially, it's like the 3 things that we can stand on and say, these are areas that we can not only directly help with or pull in friends and family that we know within the space to help with. So we had 3 of them.
Okay.
The first one.
Tell us.
Identity and sense of purpose.
Yep.
What does that mean?
I mean, what does that mean? But as soon as you say identity, like, tell me more.
Right. So essentially, you know, if you think about it, Nicole has this wonderful speech that she uses all the time. Like, service member goes to work, first day, new PCS location, new installation. They know nobody. They go up to work. First day, they have like 25 friends in their office, right?
Yeah, their colleagues are instantly their network.
Right.
Yeah.
But military spouses, they move alongside. And if they don't have work lined up immediately, they might wake up first day and go, great, new location, but who am I? What am I doing here?
When you go to that commissary.
How did I get to Alabama or California or wherever you happen to end up? So like the idea of having kind of this loss and uncertainty about who they are, right, as part of this lifestyle, which is somewhat unfair. Well, I think we can say absolutely unfair, but you know, unfair. They have this loss of innate identity in themselves.
What about me?
Right. What about me? How do I fit into this? Where's my role in all of this? Yes, I might be mom, I might be homemaker, I might be all these different things, but I'm also an individual and I have unique you know, passions in life and things I like to do. I might be very creative. Maybe I want to be professional. All these different things. How do we kind of amp that up?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Second one, we kind of touched base on it already.
Okay.
Trusted networks and support systems.
Okay. That kind of ties together.
Kind of makes sense. It was basically 2 of our insights, our challenge points. So that obviously stands up as being very important. So we wanted to make sure that we set that aside as an important area to help support within. So things such as establishing and maintaining relationships or providing support systems just in general.
Right.
Huge, 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 huge. A lot of our centers, we kind of view them almost as like a community environment. So how can we make sure that they're doing that better for spouses?
Right.
Because it's important. When you have really good, great people around you,
yes,
you thrive. You tend to thrive a little bit more, and that's research-based. So we want to make sure that we're helping with that.
And spouses can go into USO centers.
My thunder. But yeah, exactly. Like, how do we make sure that we're working towards that? The last one, agency and ability to plan.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So a lot of people are like, agency. What the heck does agency mean?
Please tell us.
But essentially, it's this ability or feeling like you have a lack of control.
Okay.
Right. And that kind of goes back to that first theme I was talking about with identity. But your identity is who you feel you are.
Right.
Agency is how you feel you can control what's happening to you.
Right.
Right. And there's this like weird dichotomy of like, if I don't really know who I am, then how can I direct the things that are kind of impeding on me being able to do that or accomplish that. Right. So how do we, you know, help support that a little bit, make the little kind of friction of that a little bit better or lessen it in some capacity. But yeah, so it was really kind of an interesting thought process because we wanted to dig out these themes, but we also recognize that no spouse will probably feel all 3 of those at once. Right. Or maybe one of those that don't even apply to at all. Right. Right. So it's like, I'm again breaking down that kind of stereotype of who a military spouse is recognizing that they're all different. They have different journey points, as we
Which
said,
we
and
like to say, yeah.
different experiences, and that they may have all of these, or they may have none of these, or maybe they only have one of three.
Right. But they probably, as a military spouse, know somebody that's gone through one
absolutely,
or
at least along their kind of time in the military
Sure.
itself, you might experience them at different times.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you move from like a very populated area like DC, where I live and work, and then you move out to Alabama,
Sure.
your network is going to be very different, right? And how do you kind of overcome dealing with that is where we need to be.
Yeah,
right?
I love it. Good.
Try.
So we have all of the research.
Yep.
And we have the key insights. We have the themes.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you also were talking about personas.
Yes.
And the research talks about personas. So
yes.
what came out of that?
Yeah. What's really cool is at the end of it all, you know, we're all so busy. And I, as a research nerd, I will wholeheartedly own that research nerd, was like just every single word, right? It was just like, oh my gosh, I have so many family, friends, whatnot that apply to this. But at the end of the day, if you get to the personas piece at the very end, that's like the big aha, right?
Right.
Because like I mentioned before, breaking down that stereotype, for us who do programming every single day, we kind of think of it from almost like a customer standpoint. Like, what does our customer look like? How are we serving them? How can we better serve them? But these personas gave us an opportunity to kind of visualize the different types of spouses that we may interact with when creating programming.
Yeah,
which is really cool.
Helpful.
And again, like the themes, no spouse may directly align with one persona versus another. They might be a mixture of both. But it's important to make sure that we have like a visual that actually provides spouses the opportunity to say, that's me.
Right.
Or that was me last PCS.
Right.
Or this is me going into next PCS, just depending on where you are in your season.
Yeah.
So I would, again, hugely advise, go and check it out. It's really cool. I know the first day that we actually got it back with the images on it, I gave it to you. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And what was your thoughts on it when you were looking at it?
It hits home. It really does. There was one of the personas was my dreams, my path.
Yep.
Because my career and my professional career is very important to me. So I just want to make sure, as being a military spouse, I know there's many other military spouses out there that feel the same way, that they also want to keep their career afloat during their journey.
You got that right.
So
So I mean, we put 4 of them there. We could probably easily do 20 of them.
Right.
But we wanted to pick the 4 biggies, right? Because those are probably the 4 highest need areas, so to speak, to make sure that we're initially maintaining our commitment to spouses. So that's where we kind of dug in. And like I said, my mom read this, and one of those personas she picked up, she's like, that was me. Like legitimately, the searching for my tribe and the, what was the other one? Looking at it here. Oh, making ends meet. Yeah. We were a lower enlisted family. It was very difficult for my parents to make ends meet every single day, but they managed to do it. And they did it because my mom was really obstinate about making sure she could find her tribe and people to support her. So you'll see all those themes kind of woven within each of those personas, as well as the kind of the challenge points and how we can kind of flip them on their head.
Right. Good. Well, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
This was fantastic.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. Well, I don't know if there's anything else. I guess actually, when one of the insights, the well-intentioned services.
Yes.
Can we talk about that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's do it. So one of the insights that we brought out that actually was kind of like the golden, what's the snitch, right? Is that from Harry Potter, the golden snitch or whatnot? Sorry, I just
Harry
totally
Potter.
just threw it on you like that.
Know.
But anyways, like the golden piece for us at the USO was this insight about well-intentioned services. And one of the things that came out is that we had spouses tell us repeatedly again that yes, there are resources for them, but while they're designed really well for them and they may work for where they are, there's a little bit of a consistency issue. And the fact that like, if I'm at Pendleton and I'm using this really great network group and then I move maybe somewhere on the East Coast, I don't have that same network because the kind of individualization of that is breaking down the consistency factor, which provides me a really great safe place to be and maintain that network. So I think both Nicole and I were standing there like applauding because that's hugely important to us, especially at the USO, that while we can always get better at it, we want to make sure that if you're going to one of our national level programs at Pendleton and then you go somewhere on the East Coast, that you get the same effect, right? And that the program does the same thing for you, or the resource provides you the same support. So
so stay tuned for that. You'll see a lot more programs coming up for military spouses across across the globe.
Absolutely.
So we're pretty excited about that. To include, we are also working with Brittany Walker, who is the 2017 Military Spouse of the Year.
She's awesome. If you guys haven't seen her, she's so cool.
Oh, she's wonderful. And we're going to be kicking off her workshop, which is Discovering Your Spark. And it's about finding your identity.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Look at that.
Hey.
Look at that.
But it's pretty exciting because the stars aligned and, you know, she created this workbook. We found out with the research that spouses were having, you know, a major, you know, problem or issue with helping find their identity.
Right.
So we thought, you know what, this just makes sense. So we'll be going to.
How many times do you hear people say, oh, you have to promote your personal brand, right? Like that's something in the professional space we hear all the time. Make sure you promote your personal brand. But like, what does that even mean?
Right. But you have to find out who you are first before you can even,
exactly.
You know,
So she's really cool because she actually helps you do this breakdown of inventory of what makes you you, and what like drives you to be who you are, and things of that nature. It's good stuff.
Yeah. So we'll be piloting a couple workshops across the country, and then working with her this year. But then we're also going to be our next Coffee Connection Live will be with Brittany.
What?
Yes.
Now I know I had to go first.
Yes, I know.
Stage here. That's
Research,
awesome.
then identity.
I love it.
So March 6th, save the date. We'll make sure to send you guys the link to how to register and everything like that.
That's awesome.
But we're pretty excited about that. But we just want to show spouses that, you know, we're the USO. We're here for you. We hear you. We want to know what else we can do.
Yeah.
So with this research, we're going to be doing a couple other wonderful things this year just to let you guys know that we support you.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we get asked a lot with regards to the research is, why is the USO doing research? Like, you're not a research organization.
Sure.
And honestly, for us, it was the opportunity to find out more.
Right.
And to ask the people we're serving, which is kind of not done all that often, especially for spouses. So we were so thankful because the 50 spouses we did talk to, we very openly told them that from the get-go. I was saying, please help us help you, right? Like, tell us what's wrong. Why is it wrong? Why is it broken? Why doesn't it work? And they were completely open about it, which was great. So it gave us a lot of really great actionary points to start with.
Well, and to have somebody sit down with you and say, tell me, like, what can we do? And
we had a couple, like, you know, therapeutic moments of just, like, you know, working through things, and it worked out great because we really got to the meat of what the challenge is, which is where we need to be. So even with something like this, if you hear something and we need to know, you need to tell us, right? Because we don't know what we don't know.
Exactly.
But we're trying, and if anything, we have an open ear.
Yes. So
there you go.
Excellent. Okay.
Good stuff.
Good. Well, let's actually jump into another poll then.
Yes, I love it.
Okay, good. So you guys hopefully read the research, or, you know, heard a little bit about it today. I'm going to launch the second poll.
And what's cool is you put questions in here that you don't necessarily even need to read the research to be able to react to, which is really cool. So if you haven't read it yet or have no intention to, that's perfectly fine. When Nicole launches these, I think you'll see some things on there that are pretty intuitive, so to speak, to react to.
There you go. Okay, so this poll should be live now. You should be able to see it. So we do want to know the key themes from the research. Which key themes do you feel like you can relate the most to? And then also for the insights, the 10 insights are listed there. Take a look at them and let us know what you feel you can relate with there. And you can pick one or more. So we'll go ahead and keep that up for a little bit as you look at them.
So while they're doing it, Nicole, I know I asked you about the theme, right? Which one was the most relatable for you?
Well, let's take a look here. I need to take a look.
I know, you got to stare at them, right?
I think the themes, actually, they're right in front of me on the poll. So I think
it's hard to pick one out of them because they all kind of so naturally fit together, but
it's the networks are difficult. Just we recently PCS'd and just finding your tribe and finding the network. And it's been fun because I've actually been able to go to a Coffee Connection.
That's so cool.
To a local Coffee Connection and make friends that way. So
that's awesome.
That's been fun. But I mean, I am that one that's going to the library and trying to find a friend there, something like that.
I have to come visit you more often.
Yeah, I know. But it's been good. It's been, you definitely, it's good to have that live interaction, but to make sure you do keep in touch with friends that you've made along the way as well.
So true. So true.
Yeah.
And then on the insights, I'm just looking at what everybody else is responding to see what's coming in, like number one at the moment. And it looks like,
wow.
Oh, well-intentioned services. Okay. Yeah.
And we'll share these with you in a second. We
Okay.
have about a couple more people can get their votes in there.
Wow. So that, I mean, that's basically telling me that a lot of people are agreeing with that ideology of like, it's great if you give me an awesome program, but if I then move and I can't have access to it at the same level, it's not going to meet my need quite as much as it did before. So that's hugely important to us. So thank you for giving us that feedback, because that means we're in the right spot, right? Making sure that we're doing that. And, you know, as a global organization, so to speak, we need to stand on that and hold ourselves accountable to that.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Okay, well, I'm going to end the polling and I can share the results with you guys.
Perfect. So it's almost an even, it is an even tie between trusted networks and agency.
Well, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And then we have well-intentioned services, breakdown and execution. And it looks like number 2, meaningful work can be difficult to find.
Yes.
We hear that a lot.
We didn't necessarily touch on that one, but that is a big one of spouse employment, right? Making sure that we as a national level culture change our thought processes on remote work and providing opportunities to spouses that aren't, you know, going to be in the same place maybe for more than 2 to 3 years at a time.
Exactly.
I know that's impacted you.
Yes.
And thankfully, Nicole has decided to stay on our crazy train, and she still helps us, even though she's not in Arlington with us anymore. And I think as a team, we get so much out of that. Having that kind of perspective that's not the same as ours inside our office.
Exactly.
So, you know, maintaining the voice that needs to be, and supporting spouses and, you know, remote work opportunities is a big deal to me personally.
Absolutely. So. Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this. Okay. We'll hop out of that.
This is my favorite part, Nicole.
The coffee?
Well, that the coffee. Nicole makes very good coffee, but the coffee and questions.
Oh yes.
Do we have many?
Let's take a look. We're going to go to the question and answer box here and see what we can do.
And see what Danielle has
coming up.
Worked out for us.
We will launch the question and answer. There's if anybody does have a question, please go to the question and answer box. And it looks like I'm not seeing anything right now, but we're here. If you do have questions that we can start to look in the chat box too. Here we go. Here, good. Okay. So let's see here. We have from Johanna. Do you all feel like the story of the military spouse is reaching the civilian populace, like corporations, government representatives, and non-military families?
That's a great question.
That is a very good question.
Nicole, what do you think?
I mean, I think that the story of the military spouse is, we're slowly starting to scratch at the surface of this. I mean, I feel like within the past couple of years, it's just started to be the topic of not only the employment piece for military spouses, but just telling the story, as you said, like the story of the military spouse and what is that story.
Sure.
Absolutely. So I think, you know, the more that we're able to educate the civilian side and other corporations and of course the government representatives together, then I think we'll eventually get there.
Absolutely. You know? And kind of one of the self-serving pieces of doing the research for us was to have this kind of metrics and data to stand on so that we could go back to the civilian population or go back to our contacts at DOD and different government agencies and say, hey, we're not just saying this because it's being repeated. Right? We're saying this because it's an actual experience, and we need to be recognize the fact that that's the experience. So I think for us, we're using this as a leverage point to start really digging into that conversation piece. We knew that was going to be a secondary action after the spouse salute. Right. Anyways, we wanted to take an opportunity to kind of have a hooray moment to say, hey, spouses are here. They've been here. They're going to be here. Let's give them a moment to shine. But now that we've gotten past that, what's the next step? How do we continue the conversation? Right. And we have a number of teams in our office that are working very hard on that. So,
yeah. And really shining a spotlight on the military spouse.
Right. Absolutely. So are we there perfectly yet? No, I don't think so. But we've got a ways to go. But I think we're very armed to do so.
Yep. Great. Thank you for that, Jonna. Okay. And Bridget, can you touch on some of the programs that we might not be aware of that address some of these insights, or rather, where can we find information on programs available? I just want to say we did not pay her.
No, we did not.
to ask this question.
But we're happy to answer it for you.
Yes, yes. So Bridget, thank you for asking that question.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have some programs in the works right now.
Mm-hmm.
One to be Coffee Connections,
Mm-hmm.
which are like this, but at a center level. And they're all over the country right now.
Mm-hmm.
To find out where those are, you just go to uso.org/military spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And all of March, February, and I believe March's events are listed right now. So they're up and ready to go. And then we also have and so really for Coffee Connections, those are just a simple, casual, laid back environment for to drink coffee, get a mug.
Yep. Make some friends.
Hang
out,
just,
talk.
Yeah, meet people and just keep it super casual.
Yep.
Then we also have military spouse networking, which is a lot of fun. And that's more of like a speed networking, speed dating, but you're speed networking with other military spouses. We also bring in hiring employers, organizations that support military spouses, community leaders, and just throw everybody in there and learn about the USO, what we're up to, and how we can support you. And then you walk away really not knowing anyone sometimes, and then walking away meeting at least
25 friends.
Yeah, 25 friends.
And if you don't already have your own personal elevator pitch, you have to go. Like Nicole has managed to teach everybody how to have their own personal elevator pitch, which is amazing. I actually need a refresher.
And I've used it in the elevator before.
It works,
and sometimes people are scared. Yeah. But I mean, they're like, did you really just do an elevator pitch?
Yes, I did.
In the elevator.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did. Yes.
No shame.
Yes, no. So, but those are some of the programs. And then our new programs with Brittany Walker. We have some family programs.
Yes, we do have some family programs. In my space, in my domain here, I primarily focus on support for military kids and families more generally. But we have some really new cool stuff. We just launched a new family activity box, which is a craft and comfort kind of based resource box, but it arms families with opportunities to come together and connect as a family while getting your arms, fingers, elbows a little messy, which is really fun. So those are just launching now this year. And then we have our What to Expect program for expecting moms and spouses, which is really cool. So if you haven't had the opportunity to go run those, hugely recommend it. But I mean, even aside from those big programs, if you are in an area and you don't have something around you, just tell us. Like we have amazing teams that do a lot of outreach events. So if we have a big enough demand to bring something to your area, we actually just had somebody reach out to us about supporting the installation in California, Fort Irwin, remember? You and I were talking from Stacy.
That's right.
Cece.
Yes.
But anyway, so I mean, we do a lot of that where we just will bring programs to where there's a need. So if you hear or you would like something, just reach out to programs@uso.org.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Also, check your local, if you are near a USO center, check their local Facebook page because they also have local programs
that are just kind of pop-ups.
Just pop-ups. So check out their Facebook page. And whenever you PCS to a new location, that's the best advice I could say is to check out and see what your local USO is up to.
Absolutely.
They have a lot going on. Okay, great. All right. Val, you wanted to know quickly list the 4 personas.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Let me pull my little cheat sheet out.
And thank you for these questions.
Absolutely. These are great.
Yeah.
So the first one is proudly serving, right? This is probably the most stereotypical of all of the personas. So this is the spouse who outwardly is, I am connected to my service member. This is what I meant to do to support him or her through her journey and service to our country. But maybe behind the scenes, maybe struggling with a lot of these insights that we were talking about, right? So like it's really hard to, on the front face, to be the pillar for the service member and then not have your own things going on in the background, right? So that's kind of what the first one is proudly serving, right? Person that we think of more often. The second is making ends meet. So this is the spouse that we talk to that I think is the superhero, right? Maybe they're in a lower enlisted family like my family was, and they don't have a lot of income coming in. So the spouse will take on 1, 2, even 3 jobs at a time to make sure that their family is supported and has what they need to get through. So they don't necessarily get a whole lot of personal time because they're taking care of everybody else, whether that's a service member or their children, or maybe they have other dependents, whether that be, in-laws or extended family members, whatever it is. Superhero. This is the one I think of with a cape on. Making ends meet. The third one is My Dreams, My Path. This is the one Nicole was talking about being very connected to. This is essentially the what we think of as kind of maybe coming in later in life into the military experience. Maybe they had a career before they got married to a service member, or maybe they developed a career while they were in service, and they essentially very much want to stay tied and connected to what their dreams are and what their path is. And they very much have a lot of friction with the ideology of service telling them what to do with their path. Right. So it causes a lot of internal struggle more often than not. So My Dreams, My Path.
Love it.
And then the last one is Searching for My Tribe. So this is essentially the spouse that doesn't feel like they fit in any spouse environment, right? So maybe they are an older spouse and they're like, whoa, I had a whole life before I came here. I don't necessarily feel like I belong with the other ones that maybe are, you know, stay at home or have various other things going on. Or maybe this is the male spouse, right? We hear this a lot, where we try to encourage male spouses to come to our programming quite often. And they're like, you want me to go sit and drink coffee with 15 women? Are you crazy? It is fun.
It's fun.
I promise. But, you know, they just don't necessarily feel like the spouse environment fits them. They don't fit within the mold that is the spouse environment. So we try to make sure that when we are creating to that person. Because if we could create a comfortable environment for them, then everybody else will fit. So last one, Searching for My Tribe. So I'll repeat them real quick. Proudly Serving, Making Ends Meet, My Dreams, My Path, and Searching for My Tribe.
Great.
4 personas.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, Maddie, I feel like the MilSpouse community is doing a great job at talking about our struggles amongst ourselves, but what things are being done to share things like this survey with public corporations?
Ooh, that's a really good one.
Question. And hi, Maddie.
Hi, Maddie. So I would say, from my perspective, you can tell me what you think. We have a number of teams that were literally being, I had to hide in my office for a full week because they wanted this information so they could go share it with public corporations, government agencies, things of that nature. So now that it's kind of out there, that's kind of on us to make sure that we are getting at the table and saying, hey, if you're looking for if you're looking to have, you know, any kind of military experience on your team, why aren't you considering military spouses, right? So we as an entity are going to work pretty closely with a lot of other military support or agencies to make sure that this information does get out there. It's going to take a little bit of time, though. It's not going to be an overnight scenario. We're going to work very, very hard to do that. But we're working on developing some materials that come from this so that we can share as educational tools.
No, nothing to add to that. I mean, but that was fantastic. But that's also why we made it downloadable for everybody to get their hands on, because if you know of somebody that this would be great to get in front of, please, by all means.
And we encourage people to use it that way. So if you are in a community and you feel like they could use a little extra education on the military, go and download that PDF and share it. That's what it's there for. It's open access. So.
It's yours. It's yours.
But thanks for the note specifically about public corporations. I'll make sure that our teams are aware that's at the top of mind.
Okay. Okay, let's see. A lot of people talk about not having a network. Has Coffee Connection USO ever thought of a spouse mentoring group? Essentially a group of key leaders who are assigned point of contact for new spouses. You know, we've had a lot of conversations about this within the past couple of weeks, months, you know.
Absolutely.
And it's been brought up a lot by a lot of military spouses.
Absolutely.
So we kind of have our, you know,
we have our finger on it. The pulse is there. We have our finger on it. I think we still have a couple you know, kind of logistical things to work out with that to make sure that it's the best fit for what spouses are looking for, but it's absolutely top of mind. Because I mean, regardless whether you're a military spouse or not, mentorship is a big deal.
Absolutely.
You learn so much from other people, iron sharpening iron, right? It's very, very important. So if we can find a way to leverage that kind of opportunity, we should do it, right?
And feel free to message us online or I'm sorry, offline as well. And
if you have suggestions or means, or more specifically what you're thinking that kind of experience would offer you, that would be hugely insightful. So we would welcome it.
Good. And we'll actually have our email that you can send more questions to afterwards. So, okay. Thank you for that question. And did the research show that the spouses of different age groups were more likely to identify with different key themes?
Oh.
I'm in my early 20s and think finding my identity is still really relevant, but might not be later in my life.
Oh, we should tag team this.
Yeah.
So with regards to the research, when we dug in and we talked to these 50 different spouses, right, we came from that at the perspective of we weren't trying to filter anybody into any one bucket, right? Because initially we didn't even know what they were, so that made it somewhat easy. But once we did know what they were, we chose not to try to kind of filter like, okay, X percentage went here and X percentage went there. Because again, people kind of slide in and out of those themes over time. And what's really interesting to me is I had the pleasure of briefing a lot of people before we actually publicly launched the report, and one of those was our service council. Do you want to give them a brief overview of who's on the service council?
Yeah, so the USO Service Council are all of the senior spouses of the Air Force, and the Army. It's all of the branches, essentially. So we have Mrs. Dunford, Mrs. Goldfein, and all of those spouses that are a part, and we come together pretty much on a monthly or quarterly basis just to talk about what we're doing within the USO. And so we were able to brief them about this midsummer last year, and a lot of information came out.
Absolutely. And because of the nature of who's on that service council, their experience skews more on the tenured side, right? Because they're all pretty high level, had been in. But what I walked out of that meeting initially was a lot of them were still saying that finding my tribe and understanding my identity, because a lot of them are now dealing with, oh, I'm going to be getting out of the military here shortly. Like, oh my goodness, my whole life has been wrapped up as being X so-and-so's service member's wife. And now I'm going to be me. So how on earth am I supposed to make that kind of a transition? So we have found actually in most environments, all of them to be fairly relevant for most everybody. It's just a matter of how they've digested it for them. And to what degree each of those is most important to them.
Well, and even as a new spouse, you might feel as though you lost your identity, and then you find it, or you're like, okay, I feel good. I'm in,
I got this.
And then you PCS, and then you're kind of like, wait a second, hold on, what just happened? Like,
and as we all know, this installation can culturally be very different than that installation. So what you thought you knew, you may not know once you move again. So it becomes relevant cyclically almost.
And you just never know what kind of wrench is going to get thrown in there. So just learning how to adapt with that. So that's why we're so excited to be teaming up with Brittany.
Yes, exactly.
So thank you for that question. All right. Let's see. I may have missed intros. Can you say your names and what you do?
For the
USO? Yes,
absolutely.
Of course. So I'm Nicole Vogel, and I am the Senior Program Manager at the USO headquarters. And I really focus on military spouse programs. Go ahead.
I'm Dustin Thomas. Hey guys. I am a senior programs manager as well. I actually work out of our Arlington, Virginia office. I live up in the DC area, and my primary focus is actually on military youth and families just in general, but I actually tag team a lot of military spouse pieces with Nicole, and I'm kind of the business owner of our research effort. So
she loves the research.
I do way too much. I kind of overindulge on the research, but it's important.
Yeah, no, this was good. And you broke it down for us so that we could understand it. So thank you.
That's what they, that's what they let me do. I can get in real deep on it for you, but I think it's most important to have the good walk away pieces that you can kind of think over while you're doing what I do, laundry and dishes and all that stuff. You sit there and you have that moment of like,
human-centered design.
Human-centered design, I tell you.
Oh, good. We all learned something new today. Okay. Renee is wondering, is the USO partnering with other agencies that are working in this space, Hiring Our Heroes, Blue Star Families, the DoD? I sometimes think this lack of a unified effort is what leads to some of that well-intentioned but lacking feeling. Yeah, so we work with a lot of other organizations in the space, because just as we expect military spouses to expand their network, wherever they're going throughout their journey, we as an organization need to do the exact same thing. We're really proud to be a part of the Spouse Ambassador Network, which is a group of organizations such as Hiring Our Heroes and Blue Star Families that get together on on a quarterly basis to talk about military spouse related subjects and topics. So yes, the answer to that is yes. And we have a really great relationship with the DoD.
Yes, very much so.
Just want to make sure that we continue those relationships. And,
right.
Yeah.
I have to stand very proudly at, because we are so large, the USO is so large, that typically when we design or work on even new programming, we spend a lot of time taking stock and doing inventory of what's already out there and making sure that if we're going to provide something, that it's something that's not duplicating efforts that already exist. Or if it is, if it's complementary versus not.
Right.
So I think when we have spouses that actually come to us and say, hey, we need this to happen. We need something like this for us. That's kind of our job in Arlington, is to go back and tell our leaders and say, hey, this may not be the best fit for the USO, but how can we better meet the need by supporting and connecting with other organizations that may already be doing that.
Right.
So yes, we heartily hear you. And we're going to try to get very much better as we move forth with our spouse strategy to be very open and welcoming and collaborative with other agencies and organizations.
And it helps because we're not able to reach every single military spouse. So there's so many wonderful organizations out there that do wonderful things. So I like to recommend as many as I possibly can, especially to those new spouses that might not even know what's out there to help them.
Right.
But then there's so many seasoned spouses too that are like, I had no idea that I had all of this.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, I would even say for us back home, at home base, priority one is to make sure that every spouse knows that you can come to us and use our services. A lot of spouses have no idea that they can even walk through our doors. They legitimately think that if they're not with their service member, they're not welcome or they're not allowed to come through the centers, which is not true. So if you're traveling and you see a USO center, make sure you use them because they're there for you just as much as they are for service members. It's part of our mission. So we're going to extrapolate on that and make sure that we're diligent about being consistent with offerings and messaging. So thank you for reiterating that. But it's the soapbox that Nicole and I have been standing on for a little while.
Yes. So thank you, Renee, for that question.
Absolutely.
Okay. And Barb wants to know, are you ladies actually military spouses?
Ooh.
So yeah, in the intro earlier this in the call, yes, I am a military spouse. I've been a military spouse for 9 years. I'm an Air Force military spouse, and I've been overseas in Germany, and then I've been over in the States for a couple years now. But yeah, that's kind of my story.
Nicole's the military spouse du jour. I am a military spouse by proxy, if I can own that. My family was a Navy family for 23 years, very proudly serving. I was a military child literally from birth. My dad went to boot camp when I was only 6 months old. Wow. And I did the whole lifestyle the entire way through. My 3 younger siblings have a very different experience because at that point my dad had kind of gotten up or further in his career and had since retired. So I stand and own that. So very often in our office, I say I'm the veteran military brat. Yes. That's what I am. Yes. But that fits my world because I'm in the military youth support space primarily, but I have a lot of really great perspective on military spouses just because of how tangential and crossover our programming can be.
Good. Excellent.
So, yes, thank you.
All right. I don't see any other questions out there. I'm going to see if there's anything else out there that...
Danielle, is there anything in the chat box that we should connect on real quick before we hop off? We have 7 whole minutes left.
7 minutes.
We'll stay if you want us to.
Well, while... Oh, thank you, Mackenzie.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for
Mackenzie
tuning
said
in.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, we do have a couple more minutes, so I did want to talk to Dustin because she was just in Atlanta.
I was.
And
back at my home base.
You met some famous people.
Kind of famous.
Well, I mean, I didn't.
I'm not. Okay, I have to say this.
Tell us more.
I'm not a football person in general, but I got to meet Jerome Bettis, who is a former he is a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
A former Steelers player. Ooh. Don't kill me if you're a Steelers person. But I think he was a Steelers player. When we did this really cool event where I assembled some of those family activity boxes I mentioned before for 44 military families across the United States.
Wow.
I mean, and we're talking for 44 boxes. That doesn't seem like that much, but we served families in 19 different states.
That's very cool.
Which is cool. We even had a National Guard family in Utah.
Oh, wow. Yay.
So cool. I
National
personally wanted to go deliver their box to them because I was just so happy to see them come through. But having the opportunity to be in an event with the NFL the week of the Super Bowl, can we talk about that for a second? I mean, the military has some logistical challenges, but the NFL, I don't know how they do it. They literally take over a whole city for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Essentially.
Yeah.
So we had the privilege of going on site and doing this cool event with Jerome, and he came in and helped us assemble boxes and did autographs and the whole 9 yards. So if you follow us on the Twitter sphere and Facebook and all the social, they posted some cool stuff about it on there with his picture and everything. So it was really cool.
Okay.
Really cold, even though it was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Which is not fair.
No.
It's Georgia.
You're right.
I was going home expecting 50+ degrees.
Polar vortex.
Yeah. It was pretty nasty, but I just came back. It was cool.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And now I'm here with you, which is super exciting.
Hey, we're cozy by
always
the fire.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Lauren, so happy to see
love you too. Lauren, one of our good buddies, is saying love y'all.
Oh my goodness.
We love you too. Thanks for joining.
Oh my goodness.
And Val wants to know, how do you choose topics? Val, so many great questions today. I know we did not pay Val to ask that question either. I'd be broke with all these wonderful questions if I had to pay everybody.
I legitimate was going to make sure that you did a pitch because, I mean, Nicole has a whole laundry list of topics she's already going to do. But if there are specific things.
Yeah, we actually, when you exit out of this, a survey is going to pop up. And we really need you to take the survey to let us know what you want to hear about, what you want us to talk about.
Right.
Who should we bring on to do these monthly Coffee Connection lives, because this is for you.
Yep.
So we just want to make sure that we're talking about what you want to listen to.
And there's going to be, is there going to be a recording or a podcast afterwards?
We don't know. This will be recorded. It is being recorded, so we'll be able to share it out with other people that weren't able to join us.
So check back. You might be able to share it with your friends if you want them to see it after the fact.
Exactly. If you want to listen to the research again. And again.
And again.
And again.
And again.
But it looks like there aren't any other questions out there, so we are going to go ahead and sign off. But let me see. One might have just. I think that was our last question. So we appreciate you all joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Evening, the ones that are up at midnight, go to bed.
Yes, please do. But thanks for joining in, simply because this was a kind of a crazy idea we had at Arlington, because Coffee Connections are so wonderful that we were trying to think of a way to make it virtual. Like, how can people that can't get to our centers to go to Coffee Connections? And here we are, and we made it happen. So if it's something you really, really like, give Nicole that feedback, because we'll keep it going if it's something everybody wants.
And I'll actually share the email, programs@uso.org is where you can send some more feedback or topics, questions, anything like that. And we're there with that 24/7. Cheers. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for great first Coffee Connection Live. Thanks for being a part of it.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.